Okay. Um, I got when I was on Facebook, I got a post regarding the now infamous math problem. Um, Let me just write it down. It is 6 divided by 2 times the quantity 1 plus 2. Okay, it's right there. I have since I made just a ad hoc response um, because I know the rules of the order of operation. I also know the rules of the distributor rule. Th there's only one solution. Well, I have since then looked on the computer, and even mathematicians have issues with, well, maybe, I don't know. Well, one of the biggest problems is that, well, I don't think it would have been a problem if it wasn't for the advent of the computer, because the computer itself has limitations on how it calculates, how it recognizes one number next to a symbol, and they view it differently. So, uh, wow, I didn't think it'd be turned into a wajmatage that it has. Well, but it has. Um, that's why this whole issue on this particular problem is about ambiguity. This is why mathematicians would not even write uh, a problem like they wouldn't put it in that form. Of course, this is arithmetic. It's not algebra. If this was algebra, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But because we can combine in the parentheses 1 plus 2, and it just becomes a number, then you have 2 times, well, 3, because parentheses is a symbol for multiplication. Now, here the thing is that 2 is not just any old number. It is a factor of a distribution. In other words, the elements or the terms, let's just say that, let's use algebra, the terms within the parentheses, that too is a factor of those terms. Therefore, the distributive rule, you have no choice but to enact that first. There is no choice. Um, so, because it's a factor, not just any old number. Okay, so now what the confusion is that people are treating it like any old number, like 6 divided by 2, which is what? 3, and then times whatever's in that quantity. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. However, this is the problem. It's ambiguous. And so a lot of people say, well, there is no answer. I saw a video on he was a mathematician, a heck of a lot smarter than I am. But he says there's no solution. And then in a later video, he says, well, both are right. And I'm sure he eventually will come out with a video that will say, well, it's one. This is, but he's right philosophically. He says it's just ambiguous. No mathematician would ever write a problem like this, ever. And so we find it, in one sense, it's kind of silly because it is ambiguous. This is how a mathematician would write this particular problem. 6 divided by 2 times the quantity 1 plus 2. Right there. 6 divided by the quantity, 6 divided by 2 times the quantity 1 plus 2. There's no ambiguity there. This and that is equivalent. It's identical. They're the same thing. And then obviously if you worked it out, it'd be 6 divided by 6 equals 1, right? I mean, so here's the whole issue is ambiguity. It has nothing to do, the rules are the rules. The rules have been established solidly since the 1800s. I mean, there's the problem is not just ambiguity, it's how the computers perceive the symbols. And if you do that on a calculator, on one calculator, you'll get a 9. On another calculator, you get a 1. It's how they perceive the parentheses. One will perceive them as a distribution. The other will receive them or perceive them as multiplication. So it's just how it's programmed. Because what they do in the computer sequencing is it's called nested looping. And so it's how it's programmed. And so just because the programming is not uniform does not take away the values of the rules. I hope I clarified some things. It's probably clear as mud, but just understand this whole issue is about ambiguity.